In this lesson, we're going to learn about partial quotients again, but this time we're going to learn how we can use partial quotients to divide by two-digit divisors. Let's take a look at this problem. People in the United States eat about 23 pounds of pizza per person every year. If you ate that much pizza each year, how many years would it take you to eat 775 pounds of pizza? Wow, that's a lot of pizza. Let's look how we can use partial quotients to solve this problem. We need to do 775 divided by 23. Now, we can write the problem like this, but we can also set up the problem like this, 775 divided by 23. To use partial quotients, step 1 tells us that we need to subtract multiples of the divisor from the dividend until the remaining number is less than the multiple. Let's take a look at what that means. Now they give us a hint here, asking us to think about, well, what is 10 times 23? Well, or 10 groups of 23. Well, I know that I need to figure out how many groups of 23 are in 775. And if I have 10 groups of 23, that's going to be 230. And if I subtract 230 from my 775, that's going to leave me with 545 pounds of pizza left that I have to put into groups of 23. So far I figured out what it would be if there were 10 groups. But I can make another 10 groups here. So I'm going to subtract 230, which is another 10 groups. And when I subtract this, I'm going to get 315. Well, it looks like I can make another 10 groups, which means I would be taking away 230. And this would leave me with 8. And I can write this way to show you how I can figure that out. Well, with 85 pounds left, I can't make another 10 groups of 23. That's not going to work. But I do know what 2 groups of 23 would be. And if I make 2 groups of 23, I'm going to write 2 here because that's 2 groups. I know that that's going to be 46. So I'm going to subtract 46. Now here I have 39. I can't make 2 groups of 23 with only 39, so all I can make now is 1 group of 23, and I'm going to put a 1 right here. So I'm going to subtract 23 from that, and I'm going to be left with 16. That's kind of hard to see right there since I wrote too big to fit over this, but there's 16 pounds left. I can't make a group of 23, so I'm going to have a total of 10, 20, 33 groups, 33 total groups, with the remainder of 16 pounds left over. So I could write this, and I'm going to cross through this, and I'm going to rewrite this over here. 775 divided by 23 is going to be 33, remainder 16. So let's look at our question. If you ate that much pizza each year, how many years would it take you to eat 775 pounds of pizza? Well, I see that it's going to take me 33 full years, and then I'm going to still have 16 pounds I need to eat in the next year. So to correctly answer this question, I need to say that it's going to take me 34 years to eat 775 pounds of pizza. All right, you hung in there with me on that one. Now let's take a look at another example. Miley is helping his father with the supply order for his pizza shop. For next week, the shop will need 1,450 ounces of mozzarella cheese. Each package of cheese weighs 32 ounces. Complete Miley's work to find how many packages of mozzarella cheese he needs to order. So we need to take our 1,450 ounces of cheese and divide it into groups of 32 ounces. Now Miley's already done a lot of work here. The first thing he did was take away 320 ounces from the 1,450 ounces that he already had. The reason he took that away is because he can make 10 groups of 32 with that. So that means he's made 10 groups. It looks like he made another 10 groups, which would be another 320 ounces, and subtracted that to get 810. But he can still make many, many more groups, so he made 10 more, which is another 320 ounces. So far he's made 30 groups, and there's 490 ounces left over. Now he can make another group of 10, and then subtract those 10 groups, which is 320 ounces. Now he's left with 170. Now he cannot make another group of 10. He can't make another 10 groups of 32 with 170. But he did subtract 160. Now how many groups of 32 is 160? Well, let's take a look at that. I can add 32 and 32 to get 64. So 2 groups is 64. What if I added another 2 groups, which is another 64? That's going to give me 128. So 128 would be how many ounces are in 4 groups. Now I'm trying to get to 160, and if I double 128, this is already more than 100. If I double that, it's going to be more than 200. So let's add another 32, which is 1 group. When I add that, I'm going to get 160. So I added 4 groups of 32 and 1 group of 32, and that gives me 5 groups. So I can add 5 groups of 32 to get 160. Now there's another way that you can look at this. The other way you can look at this is, imagine that this 320, think of it as 32 tens. Look at this 160 and think of it as 16 tens. Can you see that 16 is half of 32? If I add 16 and 16, I get 32. So if I add 160 and 160, I'm going to get 320. Since 320 is 10 groups, 160 has to be half of that, so it's going to be 5 groups. So that's another way to look at it. Now it looks like we've used up almost all 1,450 ounces of cheese by putting them into groups. Now there's 10 ounces left over, and that's not enough to make another package of mozzarella cheese. So it looks like here that the quotient is going to be 10, 20, 30, 45, remainder 10. So how many packages of mozzarella cheese does he need to order if he needs 1,450 ounces? Well, if he only orders 45 packages of cheese, he's still going to need 10 more ounces. So it looks like he needs to order 46 packages of mozzarella cheese. Now it's your turn to work on doing some partial quotients on your own. If you need a review, you can always come back and watch this video.